Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com and welcome to live lesson episode number. So I wanted to let you guys know that every second Monday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be live streaming a lesson over at rockclass101.com. Now these live lessons are going to be hosted by Matt Dahlberg, and each month the topic will be different. So what's fun about the live lessons is that you're not only able to watch live, but you're also able to chat live. So you'll be able to chat with Matt and other Rock Class 101 members. So for more information on how to tune in, click this link right here or go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for live lessons. Now on that page you'll also be able to watch every live lesson that we've done before. So if you've ever missed one, no worries, they're all there. Now, if you can't make the live stream, don't sweat it, because the day after the broadcast, we'll be publishing it to our YouTube channel. And to go one step further, on the first Monday of the month, which is 1 week before the broadcast, we're going to have a forum post up on the site, which will cover two things. Number one, what the topic for the month's live lesson will be about. And number two, you'll be able to post your questions ahead of time. So that's great news because you're still going to be able to participate. Now to post on our forum, all you have to do is sign up for basic membership, which is 100% free, and that will gain you the ability to post on our forums. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach this month's lesson, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
In today's live lesson, we're going to be talking about the 3 E's of learning. And really, this is just kind of a device that's kind of catchy to talk about how we learn really anything, but in this case, specifically the ukulele. And so let's just start by talking about what the 3 E's are, and then we're going to do kind of a deep dive into each one. And so the 3 E's of learning are going to be education, experience, and exposure, which sounds kind of weird. So what do these mean? Well, a very quick breakdown is education is the process of learning something new. So whenever you watch a video or you're looking at a book for the first time or attending a lecture or a workshop, whatever it might be, that's going to be education, process of learning something new. Experience, which is the second E, is going to be practicing that thing that you just learned. So that's usually on your own, going through the motions that you learned to go through, and it's your practice routine essentially. And then the final E, exposure, is essentially getting feedback from somebody else. So actually showing what you've been working on to somebody who's already done it or has some sort of feedback that can be positive for you. So it's basically getting feedback on what you're doing. But let's go ahead and start with just talking about each one of these E's kind of individually and break down our kind of learning path. So we're going to start here with the first one, which is education. So essentially, education with this E is every time you watch one of my videos. So anytime you see me teaching something, that's really an example of education where we're trying to learn new abilities and see how they can work and interact with something. So if you watch one of my song lessons, for instance, that's going to be an example and exercise in education where it's something you have not seen before, that you're going to be learning new abilities and sort of seeing yourself, how can I do these abilities? Now, the really important thing about this step, this education step, is most learners spend most of their time in this step when really this should be the smallest step in terms of time spent. So what I mean by that is if you're wanting to learn the ukulele and you're wanting to learn new things, if you're watching a video and then a video and then a video and then a video, or you're buying a book and a book and a book and a book, and you're kind of just grazing through, all of these different things and not really practicing any of it, just kind of watching the video and playing along with the video, you're sort of sticking in the education E, which is just one part of what you're playing. And in fact, a lot of educators use this, what we call 70-20-10 rule, which is just a percentage breakdown of your learning. And it's 70%, 20%, and 10%. And the reality is that 10% of your learning should be with the education side, should be watching new materials and trying to learn new things, because that's not going to help you become a better player like the second E will. And the second E here, which is experience, is, in my opinion, the the most important E to spend the most time on. And in that 70-20-10 split, it's actually the 70%. And what this is, experience, is practice. It's application of whatever you learned in the education side. So if we take a example, like maybe you just watched one of the video lessons I did. Maybe you're working on the song. What's a good one? We just did "Wouldn't It Be Nice" by the Beach Boys, right? So you watch that video, you decide, okay, I'm going to work on the first 16 bars of the song or something, right? The education side, you saw what the fingerings were, and I showed you how to play these different parts. And then from there, you go on to the experience side, which is practicing, repping these things again and again. And the experience E is really important to make sure that you're maximizing your opportunity. So we've actually done some how to practice courses and things like that, which will all be linked down in the description below. But the experience E is really self-driven practice. And it can be tough to stay motivated with this E sometimes. It can be tough to sit and practice. It's a bit of a grind. So staying inspired is really important. Finding things that you want to work on will help allow you to continue to work towards whatever that goal is. But that's the second E, experience, practice on your own, working through the materials. The last E, which is exposure, which I don't like the word, but it basically is trying to say that you're going to show what you're learning to somebody else for feedback. And this is the most important E to your development as a player, because we only know what we know, which sounds, kind of obvious, but in the world of learning things, more often than not, we struggle learning because we don't know what it is we need to do differently. And the exposure E, the feedback that we get from playing our materials for somebody else, oftentimes is the single trick to unlocking whatever it is we need to work on. I've actually recently been starting up skateboarding again, which has been a lot of fun during these crazy times that are 2020. And it's funny because I used to do it as a kid, but I was a really bad learner as a kid, mainly because I didn't teach, right? And when I was a kid, I'd struggle with a trick for years, basically, and just I never get it down. But now as an adult, when I'm doing the trick or trying the trick, I find, oh, this isn't working. What's wrong? And I'll take a slow-mo video of myself and I'll watch that slow-mo video, and then I'll go look at videos of other people doing the trick online and try to find slow motion videos. And because of all the teaching that I've done over the last decade with the ukulele, a lot of it applied to other things. And I could actually look at what I was doing and what the other person was doing and try to compare and contrast to figure out what I needed to change. Now, if I had a teacher, it'd be even smoother, right? Because then any perspectives that I'm losing, that teacher could clue me in on. But I notice I'm learning tricks a lot faster now as an adult just because of my learning style. Even though I'm spending a lot less time skateboarding, I'm learning a lot quicker because I'm trying to compare and contrast what I'm doing to what other people are doing. And so this is, again, I think the most critical and important step. If you're really struggling with something, oftentimes somebody who has done it before will have that little bit of perspective to help you get it down. And this is actually why I'm sitting here today, right? When I started making some YouTube videos of just my playing over 10 years ago, I had some people email me saying, hey, can you teach me how to do that? And I'd respond with, I have no idea how to teach, but we can try. And I started doing Skype FaceTime lessons from that. And now over 10 years and 10,000 lessons later, here we are. It's pretty surreal. And it's all thanks to that concept, that last E of exposure, of trying to get feedback, because the process of learning things from other people is just so critical to your sort of development. So those are the three E's, right? In sort of a nutshell, we have education, which is the process of learning new materials. So that's watching a video. So to kind of keep a common thread here, we're going to think about learning a song like Wouldn't It Be Nice, for instance, right? So with the song Wouldn't It Be Nice, the process of watching the video for the first few bars to get comfortable with, okay, what fingerings should I use here? How should I play these things, right? And then from that, we look at the next part, which is going to be experience, which is practice. So with a song like Wouldn't It Be Nice, it'd be practicing those bars and trying to get comfortable with them. And that should be a bulk of the learning process. And then exposure, the last E, which is getting feedback. And this is where Rock Class 101 is so cool. You can post videos of the member videos and get feedback from other people that have done these songs, as well as the instructors here. And it's really cool to have that community to kind of lean in towards, so that you can figure out, hey, what do I need to work on? Because oftentimes you won't know what you need to work on because you just haven't learned that you need to work on it yet. And getting that feedback from someone else can really help. Now, when you've gone through that process, notice how I said through the first like 16 bars or so. This is not a you go through the process once and call it good. This is you go through this process again and again and again and again. And this is the most important part of this lesson, is as you're learning, you want to sort of think about these 3 steps and try to maintain a relationship with them so that you're developing at a much more efficient rate. Right? If you know that, oh man, you know what? I've been sitting here practicing for an hour, but all that I've done is watch tutorial videos, then you'll realize, oh man, I'm just doing the education side. And that's not going to make me a better player, because I need to make sure I'm rounding it out with the experience as well as the exposure to really develop quickly. So make sure that you're not just sitting and watching videos all day, but rather you're practicing them too, getting that experience side. And when you're practicing that, sometimes you might find, oh man, I've been practicing this song for a week, but I have not played it for anybody. And by not playing it for anybody, you're not getting any other perspectives. And in that case, we really want to make sure we're getting that exposure side. And with that, getting feedback, it's great to get it from other musicians or other ukulele players rather, because they can say, oh, twist your middle finger a little bit this way and, whatever else to unlock it. But it's also a really good idea to practice it or to, get feedback from non-musicians or musicians that aren't ukulele players, just to get different feedbacks and perspectives. So often for me, my exposure comes from playing a song for my wife. I do a lot of arrangements between Rock Class 101 and my own YouTube channel and everything else, and my private lessons. And it's really funny because when I do a new arrangement, I'll usually play it for my wife first. And my wife is a very talented vocalist, but she doesn't do anything with music outside of just sing to our kid and things right now. And it's sort of funny because sometimes I'll play her an arrangement and she'll be like, oh, that doesn't sound quite right, one part of it. And I'll think, well, what do you mean? And, I'll go listen to the original song and I'll listen to the original recording and think, wow, the original recording's wrong. Then I realize, wait a minute, the original recording's not wrong. I'm wrong. And I've practiced it so much that I now hear the incorrect thing is correct, which is because I didn't do enough of the 30. I did too much of the second E, right? The experience, the practice. I was practicing too much on my own, getting it in my own head what should be correct. And I wasn't doing enough of getting feedback, doing the exposure E by playing it for my wife or someone else to have another perspective. And oftentimes that's the hardest fix to make, because now I'm like, oh, how do I play this? What do I do? And have to go kind of fix it, right? And so just make sure in your practice, you're getting that well-rounded concept of the 3 E's of learning, which again are education, experience, and exposure, which granted are learning something new, right? Practicing that new thing and getting feedback on that new thing. And then you rinse and repeat and do it again and again and again. Just not to continue hounding this point, but pretty much everybody, when they're paralyzed by choice, focuses just on the first E, which is education. And you might have experienced this, which is, oh, I bought this book and I worked a little bit out of it, but then I decided I wanted this book and I worked a little bit out of it. Then I signed up for a membership on this website and then this website and then this website and then this website. And then I, started consuming all these things and I don't know what to do. And that's because you're stuck in just that first E of education, which is just trying to absorb new materials. And if we look at that percentage split again, the 70-20-10 that I mentioned earlier, that should be just the 10% is just learning new materials. 70% of it should be applying those. So that's what's really great about here on Rock Class 101 is you can very clearly see these point A to point B progressions. And with all of the song tutorials, you can work on this number of bars or these sections of the song so that you can spend those correct percentages. And then the last percentage there, the 20%, right? 70% for practicing, 10% for learning new things. 20% of it should be getting the exposure, getting the feedback. So playing for other people. And that's kind of an unrealistic thing in some ways, right? Not everybody can have an ukulele teacher, but the cool thing about online stuff, you can always get feedback from somebody by making a video and posting it on a forum. That's how I actually learned and got my initial exposure, so to speak, with this stuff, was by making videos and posting them online and seeing how it goes. So that's the 3 E's of learning in a nutshell. I'm gonna take a lot of questions now. Hopefully you guys have some good ones with it, and I'll talk a little bit more about the process. But just having this mindset can greatly expedite your learning process, because if you find that you lean too far into one of these 3 E's and you're not giving yourself a more balanced, learning process, you'll find that this can help a lot. So I'm going to check in the chat now, see if anyone's here on this Saturday morning. Looks like Zill's here. Hi, folks. Hi, Zill. Thanks. I think you're in pretty much every live lesson we do here. And Saturday morning is a tricky time, but with everything that's going on, it's the one time that I have available. So thank you for coming. Let's see if anybody else is here, and we'll kind of continue talking about it. And let me reload this. I've also set up a new setup where I actually have my computer in front of my phone. It's been a big quality of life difference for these live lessons. So cool. Yep, glad you're here, Zill. That is awesome. All right. Well, let me give an example here on this sort of 3 E's of learning for how we want to sort of approach something. So let's say that I'm wanting to learn a chord melody song, and I don't really know where to start. Well, I'm first going to pick a song that I like. Really important. As adults learning, if you're an adult watching this video, which you probably are, learn something that you want to play. Don't worry about playing things you don't want to play. Life is too short for that. Play things that entice you, that you want to, work on. And there's so many lessons like here on Rock Class 101, for instance, that you should be able to, find one that you like. So let's say that you're looking and then you're like, hey, you know what? I really like Puff the Magic Dragon. That's a really fun song that I want to work on. And I did an arrangement of this on Rock Class. So we pull open our sheet music or tab of Puff the Magic Dragon and look at it, and it's a little overwhelming. Look at this PDF because I don't know what to do or where to play it. So now we're starting our process of learning. So the first E that we need to do is education, learning the new thing. And to do this, you click on that YouTube video that I'm teaching it and talking it through. Now, you don't try to do the whole video. This is an important step. We don't try to go through how many bars are in this song? All 21 bars right away. That would be a very bad idea. Maybe we focus instead on the first 4 bars. Not very much, just enough to, have some focus. So we watch the video on YouTube, and I go through teaching, okay, you're going to place your middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the G string and the index on the 1st fret of the C, right? And you kind of follow along through the first 4 bars. Once we're done with the first 4 bars, stop that video. Don't worry about it anymore. And go and now try to practice it. And if you forget one of the fingerings, try to remember. If you can't, go back to the video and watch it just so that you can remember exactly what those fingers should be. And now spend the next bulk of time just repping that, just working on it again and again and again and again to make sure it's really comfortable. And if it feels good, if it feels comfortable, you can go on and go back to the education-y and learn the next 4 bars, maybe. If it's really not feeling good, if you're really struggling with maybe that one part in measure 3, and no matter how much you practice it, it doesn't make sense, and no matter how much you watch the video, it still doesn't make sense, that's where the exposure E really comes in handy, is you can make a video saying, hey guys, I'm really struggling with measure 3. Can someone help? And show what you're doing and what's going wrong, and somebody will post on that forum saying, oh, that's just because your index finger is a little too back with the bar or whatever it might be. But we go through the next 4 measures, right? And I do the right? And after I've gone through the video, watched that, find out the fingerings, sat and practiced for quite a bit of time, make sure I'm really comfortable with it. Now would be a great time, even if you don't think you need it, to try to get some of that exposure E. And the way to do that is play it for a friend, play it for a family member, just to see if they recognize the song. With something like Puff the Magic Dragon, if they do, that's pretty cool. And then try to play it on video. Try to make just a little 8-bar video saying, hey guys, I'm just working on this. How does it look? Because then people can give you feedback of, oh, your timing's just a little off on measure 7 into 8. You're rushing it, or you're going too slow, or whatever it might be, so that you can go back and work on practicing that part. If you rinse and repeat that for the whole song, you're going to be learning it really quickly, and you're going to be learning it really efficiently. And that's our ultimate goal with everything here. As adults, learning is a lot harder than it was as kids. In fact, when I started teaching, I was about 18 when I first started giving my first like real ukulele lessons. And I remember occasionally thinking in my head, oh my God, why can't they get this? What's wrong? Why is this so hard to them? And then years go by, and many years go by, and even more years go by, and I have a child and everything else. And I realize now, oh, I get it. It just, your brain doesn't work like it used to. I struggle learning new things all the time compared to, or at least retaining things compared to how I used to. I swear kids suck like half your brain. Half your brain goes into them or something crazy. But anyways, I understand now that it's much harder to learn. And so these tricks and these tools really can allow you to be a much more efficient learner, which as adults, we need all the help we can get, right? Whenever I have a child student, I'm always just really, discouraged, not with the child student, but with myself, because I'll plan a lesson out and they'll learn it in like 5 minutes. It's like, ooh, that would have taken an adult a lesson and a half, and they just got it like that. Kids are crazy. But anyways, so I see now in the chat, Zill says, feedback is so much easier with the lessons. I'm arranging my own and really need another person's perspective, which is, it's feedback is really, important. And with even with these live lessons, when you attend a live lesson and can ask a question, asking a question is a form of that feedback, right? And so it's a very important step. Zill also says, I go to different versions on YouTube, the original, different arrangements on different instruments. That's helpful. That's a fantastic point. Whenever you're doing an arrangement of a song and you're getting to the point where you're trying to kind of perform it, make it almost your own, don't just find one perspective, right? If you watch my video of Puff the Magic Dragon and that's the only one you look at, you're going to be playing my version of Puff the Magic Dragon, and that's it. You could make a much better version than that by listening to other versions and listening to other musicians. And all of that is really a form of education, of trying to listen and learn new materials, but also in some ways exposure, because you're trying to give self-feedback. You're trying to get different perspectives deliberately by watching different videos and seeing other people's perspectives. All the better if you can just talk to somebody about it, saying, oh, what did you do on your arrangement of that song? So if you have a musician friend that plays a different instrument, sometimes that's one of the best educational tools you can tap into. And Zill also says, my partner is terrible at name that tune. I'm terrible at name that tune. So, it's kind of funny. I joke about this, but I'm actually serious. My wife is a much better musician than I am. I'm actually not a very good musician when it comes to just listening and hearing things. That's not my forte. I'm really good at looking at things and analyzing things that way. I'm much more mathematically brained than I am, listening to music brained. And so for me, I've taken a very analytical approach with everything that I do with this, because it's what helps me learn. As a very quick little aside story, with this stuff is I've got 2 younger brothers. And when we were all babies at our respective times, my mom would sing to us. And when she'd sing to me, I'd sing along with her. And if she went out of my range, I just belt it out, try to get it higher or out of my range and out of tune, whatever, right? But when my younger brothers would sing with her, they would jump the octave when she went out of their range, which is insane, right? Like babies, where there's no learned skills here. And so there's some sort of innate ability that they were born with that I wasn't. And so for me, I became absolutely enthralled with, why can they just do this and I can't? And that's what started my obsession with, music theory and trying to learn the theory of different, cultures and things like that, so that I can start to identify how other people explain these sounds so that I could then recreate them. And that's where, to tie it back to these 3 E's of learning, a lot of people don't have that innate ability. And a lot of people do, and that's awesome. Most teachers have it. That's why they're so good. But, a lot of us don't have those natural abilities. And being very analytical with this stuff and trying to look at our process of learning can really help us become better learners and become better players. And so for me, these types of concepts have really helped myself to kind of catch up to my younger brothers, so to speak, on musical ability. And especially when you follow these E's and you try to learn new materials and then you practice those materials and then really importantly get feedback on those materials, it can just help you become really great learner. So I'm talking a lot about this. I could talk about this all day, but just to summarize one more time, our 3 E's of learning, right? We have education, which is the process of learning new materials, right? That's watching a YouTube video, reading a book, whatever it might be. That should be about 10% of your practice time in an ideal situation. The second E of learning is experience, which is practicing whatever you learned from that education. That's going to be sitting and working it through and going through the grind of getting comfortable with whatever you need to. That should be about 70% of your practice time. The last E of learning, exposure, which is really just feedback, playing your thing for other people, getting the feedback of people that know what they're doing to play it better. Also feedback from other musicians and non-musicians of, does your thing sound good, right? It's just process of getting that feedback. Does it sound right? Does it sound good? And that should be about 20% of your practice. Again, all ideal percentages. You can fluctuate it a bit. So that's the 3 E's of learning. I'm going to look again to the chat to see if there are any general questions as we're working through stuff. Yeah, so Zil says, should I be reading about arranging? I've done nothing. It's kind of funny. Arranging is my favorite part of the ukulele. I'm really lucky that basically my job is doing one-on-one private lessons, which I do for about 3/4 of my work time. And then 1/4 of my time is just arranging, creating arrangements for Rock Class 101, as well as my YouTube channel. And it's really fun and different. And for me, I didn't read anything about arranging. I went to college and studied music and then had to apply that to the ukulele. It was a long, tedious process for that reason. And so my hope is to create some sort of resource for people that want to learn how to arrange. I've done a workshop before in my at ukulele festivals on arranging. I really hope to make some sort of video at some point with it. Maybe we can do a basic arranging live lesson here on Rock Class. That might be fun. But as far as things to read on arranging, unfortunately, there's just not very much stuff out there yet. It just doesn't exist yet. And there's a key word there. I don't believe Rock Class has an arranging course, but I might be wrong. You can check out the links down below. But arranging is definitely fun. And if you want to start arranging, what I recommend doing is finding an arrangement that's already done and find a piece of sheet music in that same key. And then try to reverse engineer what was taking place, right? Try to figure out, okay, well, he's playing an A chord with an A melody note here. And, the music says A with an A chord. Try to work backwards with that. And that can be helpful. But that might be something that we talk about here soon. So cool. Well, thank you so much for the questions, Zil. I appreciate you coming each and every week. If you guys have any questions, you feel free to leave them down in the comments below. If you're watching this as a recording, I still try to go back and check the comments when I can. And then also be sure to join us for our live lesson. Right now we're doing the second Saturday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Right now in Seattle, we are just socked in with smoke. Scary times we're living in. I think Seattle actually has the worst air quality in the world right now. No fires near us. It's just crazy out there. So it was kind of nice to wake up, look outside, realize, I'm not doing anything outdoors. Let's go play ukulele and do a live stream on Rock Class. So kind of nice. Thanks again, everybody. I hope that you got something from these 3 E's of learning. Make sure that you're, getting education by watching a video, experiencing by practicing, and getting exposure by getting feedback from other people, and you'll be learning great. So thanks so much. Take it easy. I'll talk to you guys soon.